Hello, and thank you for joining us for the iCEV 2021 and beyond session. I'm Mark Johnson, and I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Clayton Franklin and Dusty Moore. During this session, we're going to share the history of iCEV and what the future holds for the company. We hope you enjoy this session, and please stick around for the live Q&A at the conclusion of this session. As we look at the beginning of CEV, the goal and the mission has always been creating innovative solutions to educate, serve, and inspire. The company was founded in 1984 by Dr. Gordon Davis, a former high school CTE teacher and professor at the University of Tennessee and Texas Tech University. From the beginning, Gordon's vision was always bringing in the experts, and we started that through VHS tapes. They were utilized as supplemental resources. We sold these through different avenues, but primarily catalogs, and we did that also through national and international dealers. With the definition of a textbook changing to include multimedia and online, in 2001, we transitioned into the multimedia textbook. With the multimedia textbook, we participated in several state textbook adoption processes and essentially created courses with the videos, lesson plans, and PowerPoints that we had developed for each one of our lessons. In 2007, we created our Pathways and Multimedia Pathway units, which was a totally disc-based product that was packaged as complete courses and units. As we continue to get feedback from our teachers, and it's one of the things we really pride ourselves in as a company, is the input and the insight we get from our teachers really allows us to help evolve not only each one of our lessons, but our product in general. And that feedback consistently came back as, have you ever thought about putting everything online? So we had those discussions for the next several years. And in 2012, we developed the iCEV product, which was a fully online streaming version of all of our library, all of our courses, and all of our lessons. It really gave us an opportunity to reach many more teachers and many more students because technology had evolved into that streaming platform. Fast forward to 2020, we served over 20,000 teachers nationally and millions of students. We also have the iCEV platform, which is a secured testing platform for industry certifications, and we offer 16 different industry certifications that we test for on the iCEV platform. Clayton, would you like to take some time to discuss kind of how we've evolved and where the library is headed for the future?
Sure. Thanks, Mark. As we look at the slide that's shown here now, I can talk a little bit about where our library is at currently. You're going to talk about the number of courses that we have. We have about 228 courses that we consider national courses, so those are aligned to national standards, and then 787 courses that we've aligned specifically to state-specific standards. If you break that down a little bit further, that means that we have 2,038 lessons that are on the iCEV platform currently. And as you talk about the size of the library, there's 35,000 plus minutes and 69,000 plus slides. Now, our library in total is a little bit larger than that. We have probably about 55,000 edited minutes of video. But as things become outdated or are no longer applicable, we remove that content from iCEV. So the numbers you see here are what is on iCEV as we speak today. And as you talk about the individuals that help us put that content together, we have 1,900 plus industry or academic collaborators that help us create the content that you find on iCEV. And then so all of that then feeds into the different areas that we serve. So agricultural science, architecture, construction, transportation, and manufacturing, business, marketing, finance, IT, and media, career exploration content, family and consumer sciences content, health science, law, public safety, corrections, and security, And we're super excited to announce this year that we will be launching a platform for science, technology, engineering, and math. So we will have a STEM site starting August 1. The site is been being developed by former STEM teachers, as well as very experienced content developers. It's being designed in a way that we hope that it's for all STEM programs, regardless of their available funding or their space or their teacher experience. The different areas that we will have on the STEM site in terms of content, there will be content to address scientific method, engineering design, physics basics, workplace skills, cybersecurity, data analysis, as well as lab and design challenges where students can come in and apply what they've learned in a lab challenge, lab experiment, or in a design challenge where they design their own engineering type projects, and again, apply those things that they learned in the other areas, from the other areas that I just mentioned. And so we have a big push from a production focus on STEM, but we also have a push to create more content for our existing subject areas that you see here as well. And I think we're on pace to add about another 130 lessons to our library this year, as well as that's going to equate into about 2,500 additional minutes and about 3,000 slides. With that, as we are updating our content and as we're creating this new content, our goal is to make some changes, not just from a video standpoint or from a slide presentation standpoint, but also just from the lesson plan components. We are in the process of updating our lesson plans to include more of a step-by-step approach to the lesson plan as opposed to a paragraph approach that hopefully will help better guide you through a lesson. Also, each lesson plan is going to have bell ringers and exit tickets that can be utilized for each class period. The students are going to have very detailed action plans that are going to go step by step of what they need to accomplish each day. We're going to have what's called key concepts. So this is a new and improved method of making sure that main ideas of a lesson are explained to the student. And this is going to replace those student notes and teacher notes that you've become accustomed to. We're also going to change up our assessments a little bit, and we're going to have at the end of each of the segments of the PowerPoints or each of the segments of the videos what we call check for understanding. And basically it's just a short review of the concepts and skills that are learned in each segment of the lesson. And then as we move forward into the final assessment, our goal is to create a longer, more rigorous assessment of a student's mastery of the content, including a variety of question types. We are a testing platform, as Mark mentioned, for industry certifications. And so our goal with those final assessments is to provide questions that are more along the lines of what a student might find in an industry certification exam to hopefully better prepare them to participate in those industry certification exams. Additionally, all of our projects and activities, we are going to provide suggestions for accommodations, modifications, and extensions to those, and you're going to find that directly in the lesson plans. As I mentioned, not only are we really ramping up for that STEM launch, but we also are trying to create new content for all of our subject areas, and so be on the lookout for that. Would encourage you to participate in the STEM, if you're interested in the STEM product, to participate in, we have an entire strand for CTE Inspired that's just totally STEM related, so you can learn more about, in detail, the content there. And then also our iCEV basic strand is gonna walk you through that new lesson plan that I just described. There's a session that's gonna walk you through that specifically. So I'd encourage you to attend that one as well. In terms of the industry certifications, as I mentioned, we had more than 14,000 students earn industry certification via our testing platform. And our goal is to hopefully have more industry certifications that can be offered to individuals. As we look to find additional industry partners to be a part of our testing platform. And so I think now, Dusty, you're going to talk a little bit about our LMS integrations moving forward and some of the new question types and features that will be found on iCEV.
Thanks, Clayton. Yeah, as we look at iCEV, and Mark mentioned that we started iCEV in 2012, the product looks totally different today than what it did in 2012. As Mark said, it was just a bunch of videos online, all of our videos online with the lesson plans and those things. And since then, we've added a ton of new features. Our goal is to keep it updated by always adding those new features. We do it throughout the year, but summertime is really our biggest time to be able to implement new features, as it won't disrupt you as you're going through during the school year. So last year, we really had a shift, based off of teacher demand and school district demand on how our product was delivered. So it used to be most traffic came directly to the iCEV platform. You would log into iCEV and use iCEV in that manner. And then whenever the pandemic happened and people shifted over to learning management systems in Google Classroom, we quickly realized that while we had some integrations with those LMS systems, we needed to beef those up and be able to support that for you and your students better. So this year, we've focused a lot of our efforts and energies for our new features on making those integrations better for you to utilize. We'll go ahead and start with Google Classroom. So Google Classroom, we just released that integration last year. And when we released the integration, it was pretty simple. You could post videos, post assessments, post the vocabulary handouts, all the different assets on iCEV to your Google Class. But that was it. So as soon as you posted it, it immediately showed up for your students, and we quickly heard that, the way people wanted to see that integration was to where you could schedule those posts out to where they showed up throughout the semester. And so another feature that was part of that Google Classroom integration last year was grade transfer, to where the grades would show up both in iCEV as well as in Google Classroom. So as you look at last year, those were the two main parts of that Google Classroom integration. This year, we've added several new features to it. I mentioned the scheduling of the posts, which is great because basically now you can click on an asset to share from iCEV to Google Classroom. You can say when you want it to show up for your students. You can say when you want that date for it to be due. You can put all of your instructions right there. So it's a really simple way to be able to share those assets into Google Classroom, which, by the way, might be the toughest phrase for me to say in all of the education language we use. I struggle saying Google Classroom clearly. So please forgive me on that. So another thing that we added with that feature was because if you're teaching multiple sections of the same prep, you want to be able to share an asset to those multiple sections and do it quickly and easily and not have to go into several different iCEV classes in order to share those assets. And so what we did was we built it to where it's really simple for you to click on an asset, share it to Google Classroom, and then choose more classes that you can share that asset on through as well. And I do have a workshop on Google Classroom integration. I'm going to encourage everybody to see that because we go more in depth on these features. The other thing that we added too was an audit log. So, one of the things that as you're going through the semester, sometimes it's challenging to remember if you're sharing multiple assignments to multiple classes, it's hard to remember exactly what you shared, when you shared it, and those things. So we've developed an audit log to where anytime you share something to Google Classroom, and then also anytime a student submits it or submits that assignment, in iCEV you now have an audit log to where you can go see the date that it was shared, what Google Classroom it was shared to, and which students have submitted that assignment. So again, we've got that workshop on Google Classroom integration. Would recommend, if that's what you're using in your classroom, to go check it out. We've also added a lot of new features for learning management systems, specifically Canvas and Schoology. A lot of districts that utilize iCEV utilize it with those learning management systems. And previously, if anybody used the LTI integration between iCEV and the learning management systems last year, it was a very cumbersome process to go through and choose all the different individual assets that you wanted to add to an assignment in Canvas or Schoology. So what we did was we got to thinking, okay, What do people love about the iCEV platform? Well, it's really easy for you to review materials. It's really easy to set up the materials in the fashion that you want to set them up. It's easy to customize, to add new lessons, remove lessons. And so we got to thinking, how do we make it to where you can do those things in iCEV and then press a button and it'll provide a package that you can then import into that learning management system. And so we're actually releasing this summer a feature that allows you to do just that. You'll be able to log into iCEV, get your course materials exactly the way you want them, and then there will be a button that says export thin common cartridge. When you click that, then it'll take you to a screen to ask, okay, what learning management system are you using? You choose that, and after you do that, you export it. You now have a package that you just import right into that learning management system, and it makes it really simple for you to get your course set up and ready to go in that learning management system. Our colleague Thomas Bennett has a workshop on the learning management systems integration, and he'll be showing off this new feature and how it works. So I would recommend, if you are using Canvas Schoology, to go to that session, because he'll show you quite a few different tips and tricks that we've just added that'll save you a lot of time. One last thing I'll point out on the integrations, since that has been a bulk of our new updates, is if you'll go to icevonline.com/integrations, that's the page where it lists all of our integrations, and it has tutorials, tips, tricks, how-to guides, everything right there that you're going to need for those integrations. So I would recommend going to that website, bookmarking it and going there, because as we make new changes, we're going to be documenting it and putting it right there on that integration page. Last, I'd like to discuss something that we're pretty excited about, which is a lot of teachers loved the auto-graded materials, you know, on iCEV, but there was a limit in regards to projects, activities, essay questions, those types of things. We didn't really support those. Now we do. So this summer we've released a new feature to where teachers can go in. If you assign an essay question to a student, the student can type that essay question, the answer to that essay question back. The teacher can then go in, review the student's work, and then auto-assign or put a grade into the iCEV gradebook stating what that student made. The other thing too is as you looked at how students would turn in projects or activities, it was cumbersome because they would email it to you, they'd have to put it into Google Drive or something like that. Now there's a way through iCEV, when you're doing a project or activity, and we are adding these types of questions, where you can go in, click the button, choose the student can choose to upload that file, and then you as the teacher can then see that file and put the grade in for the grades. And so we've got a lot of tutorials and things like that on how to use these new features. So please go to the tutorial section in iCEV to check that out. And as we conclude the session, I just would recommend to continue to give us the feedback on how we can better serve you and your students. As Mark said, our product evolves based on the feedback of teachers. And so we have several different ways for you to get a hold of us. Most choose the live chat button to tell us, you know, where we need to improve, but we're always at conferences, and our team is always out working with districts. So please don't hold back. Tell us the ways that we can improve our product to make your life better and to make your students' educational experience even greater. So with that being said, we hope you enjoyed this session where we talked a little bit about our past and then also where we're headed in the future. To learn more about the features we mentioned in this session, please join us for more of the CTE inspired sessions, and thank you.